This episode brought to you by Sleepy Time Disposable Ether Wipes. If you're like me, you hear all about these studies on the benefits of afternoon naps, but who has time in their busy schedule to carve out time for a nap? Well, the good people at Sleepy Time have you covered. With one swipe of Sleepy Time brand disposable ether wipes, you'll be off to Dozeland on the Snooze Express. Don't waste precious minutes of your power nap actually falling asleep. Let Sleepy Time disposable ether wipes release you from consciousness faster than you can say Sleepy Time disposable ether wipes. Go to sleepytime.onion and use code HMT at checkout to receive a free pack of Sleepy Time disposable ether wipes for kids. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk, an opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Bryce Hanson, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day, the foremost expert on scare no-nos. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. I'm Dr. Bryce Hanson.
And I'm the primary expert on scare no-nos, David Day.
And special guest with us today is...
Oh, I am Garrett Day.
Garrett Day.
Patreon member, brother, and fan of the show.
And lover, question mark?
Oh.
I'm currently in my PhD.
Get that... This guy does not follow instructions at all. He's pretty R-worded because he just can't keep the mic next to his mouth.
It doesn't seem like my nose should be touching the
It should.
puffy pad thing.
It definitely.
You literally touch your nose to it. Okay. First off, just a couple plugs for ourselves before we get into the show. Please go to our website, horrormovietalk.com. It's very easy to remember. There you'll find links to our social media. If you like the show, subscribe to us. We post on every Wednesday. And check us out on iTunes. And if you have iTunes, please rate us.
Yeah.
But we're also on all podcast platforms. But we got a great show today.
I've never been this
so
excited. I've never been this excited.
We've talked about this movie several times in the last episodes. Today, we'll be talking about Midsommar.
I'm so excited for this episode for so many different reasons. We met a cult. We met, in the movie theater, we met a cult. The cult.
Yeah. Wait a second. You haven't told me this.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. They were there. They were the Midsommar. They were all dressed up. They had the wreaths of flowers on their head.
Oh, wow.
They had a full social media presence as the cult, including a spooky video. All of this will be included, by the way, in our post, and also probably you've already, if you're following any of our social media, you've already seen some clips of or pictures of them.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
The whole first row of the theater was these people in white robes and flower crowns.
How do they find each other like that?
Well, actually, what it was, they're a cooking group.
Yeah, like a baking club or something.
It sounds like they kind of do special things, and I think horror might be part of it.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure. It might have been just a thing she wanted. She wanted to see a horror movie and got everyone together to do a themed.
It's like that episode of IT Crowd where the German guy wanted to cook with Moss, but it wanted to cook with you.
Yeah.
As in eat you.
Right.
Oh, I thought you wanted to teach me how to cook.
How to cook for Millhouse.
Right.
How to cook for...
How to cook 40 humans.
440.
We'll get into more about the cult at the end of the episode, towards the end of the episode with it came from social media, probably.
If you're a newcomer to Horror Movie Talk, we start out giving a brief review and our score for the film. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge that makes you angry, 5 being completely average that hits all the expected marks but doesn't surprise you in any way, and 10 being so good that it transcends genre boundaries and should probably win an Oscar, but it won't because it's a horror movie. After we give our score, we'll go into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film, so stick around. And then later, we play a couple games, do a couple bits. One will be Taglines, perennial favorite. And the second game is the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Oh man, it's been
We're
a while.
We're going to pit brother against brother.
Ooh.
and yeah, we'll probably cover a little bit of social media, but by that time, we'll probably be in like hour 40 territory.
Dude,
we'll probably just call it quits.
This is going to be the longest pod ever.
Okay, so let's get into the movie. We went and saw Midsommar, and it is the antidote.
Antidote.
Getting duty over here.
It is the antidote for the spooky house syndrome that I've talked about several times before. If there is a more idyllic horror movie, I don't know of it.
That's very fair and accurate. This is such a strange movie. It's going to be hard to dissect.
Yeah. Here is the trailer for Midsommar.
I told you that I want to go to that festival in Sweden.
Oh, you said it would be cool to go.
Yeah, and then I got the opportunity and I decided
Look,
to
I
do
don't
it.
mind you going. I just wish you would have told me. That's all.
Dude, she needs a therapist. You've been wanting out of this stupid relationship for like a year now.
And don't forget about all of the beautiful Swedish women you'll meet in June.
Okay, guys.
That's not her again. Seriously?
Babe, what's happening? Danny.
I was so very sorry to hear about what happened.
I'm sorry.
I invited Danny to come to Sweden. You know what she's been going through.
Christian says you've got this special week planned.
It's sort of a crazy festival. Special ceremonies and dressing up.
That sounds fun.
Unbelievable.
Welcome and happy midsummer. Skål!
What time is it?
9 p.m.
That can't be right. The sky is blue.
This is what 9 p.m. is like here.
How long have you two been together?
Just over 3.5 years.
4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's like another world.
Tomorrow's a big day.
Is it scary?
What is it?
It has special properties.
What am I going through?
We just need to acclimate.
I don't want to acclimate. I want to go.
Absolutely not.
What's happening? I don't know why you invited us.
That's why you look so guilty right now, because you know.
We only do this every 90 years. I was most excited for you to come.
So Midsommar, sorry, let me set my levels. So Midsommar is in theaters right now. Writer-director Ari Aster has followed up his dark, drama-filled, cult-based horror movie with this bright, drama-based, cult-based horror movie. Midsommar stars Florence Pugh, who plays Danny, an anxious young woman who experiences a horrible family tragedy, and then accompanies her boyfriend her boyfriend, an anthropology doctoral student named Christian, played by Jack Rayner, on a trip to Sweden to experience a traditional summer festival of a certain rural commune. Rural is like one of the hardest words to say. Did you ever watch 30 Rock?
Especially if you're R-worded, like, you know.
There's a joke in 30 Rock where they're like, I can't remember the name of the show that Jenna gets on. It's Rural. And they find out it's the name of the show is called Rural Juror. Anyways, so Christian and his friends Josh and Mark were invited on the trip by their friend and classmate Pele, who, not the soccer star, but the Swedish man.
This young Swede.
Who grew up in the small Swedish commune. Unbeknownst to Danny, Christian has been planning to break up with her for a while. And unbeknownst to everyone but Pele, the once-in-a-lifetime Midsummer Festival is actually a vicious pagan ritual.
Yeah.
pagan cult ritual, I should say. Not that it matters. Midsommar was everything that I wanted it to be, and I had high expectations going into this movie.
Yeah, I sure did too. I was I've never been amped for a movie quite like this.
Yeah. It's a breath of fresh air in the horror genre, and like Hereditary, it takes a lot of concepts from older horror movies and melds them to create a new and compelling story for today. It also kind of continues the momentum of writer-director auteur horror movies that are really good. And I guess, the only one I can think of is Jordan Peele, but Ari Aster, and I hope more really good filmmakers start making horror movies.
Yeah.
There hasn't ever really been a person that I've cared about before, who makes movies. I guess Peter Jackson, almost everything he does is good. But then after watching the Hereditary and Midsommar, I go, okay, everything that this guy does, I'm going to go see.
Yeah. Yeah.
After I watched Hereditary, I was like, who made this? And I was shocked that it was his first feature-length film.
Yeah, so that makes this basically his sophomore film.
Right.
And he followed it up in 2 years. So Hereditary came out, in 1 year.
17.
Yeah.
No, it came out in 2018, in almost released the same exact time.
I thought it was 17.
No. Because Hereditary is what inspired us to do this podcast.
Yeah, I think we saw it kind of late, though. It might have been.
It was released in June of 2018.
No, it would have been before that. It would have been. Anyways, Ari Aster's strength is his focus on character and relationship drama. And the characters and relationships in this movie are very familiar and believable. They serve to ground the horror elements so that they seem very real. The bright and idyllic setting of the movie does a lot to mask and inoculate the viewer to the horrific rituals that occur in the festival. Also, the framing of the events as a rare and sacred cultural event, along with the generous drug usage, creates a logical reason for why the American characters are slow to react to the more extreme elements of the festival. It's a slow burn, and while there are horrific and surprising scenes, they are intentionally dampened with the oversaturated visuals and muted sound design. The tension and anxiety that I felt ramped up very slowly throughout the movie to where I didn't realize how much I was being affected. Towards the end, I was on the edge of my seat and had a lot of nervous energy watching the inevitable and dreadful fate of the American party.
Yeah, this movie is not... This is not a normal horror movie. This is a different thing almost entirely. This movie is an experience more than it is a horror movie.
Yeah.
The one thing about any movie that I always think about, and I'm the only person I think, I always say, it could have been longer. Return of the King Extended Edition, 250 minutes. Could have been a little longer. And
wow, I'm the exact opposite.
Oh man, I always want more. I always just put that extra 10 minutes in there.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my brother-in-law and my father-in-law a couple weeks ago about Hereditary, and they're like, "Oh, it's so long and boring, blah." And in my mind, I'm like, "No, I want that. I just want more.
Right.
Spread it out. Give me more. Put more in there." And this does a great job of that.
Yeah, there's something to be said about giving things space to breathe. That to really have compelling moments, and especially with horror movies, they definitely need space to breathe, to set up scares and dread. That's kind of the whole point, is the being on the edge of your seat. And yeah, I wasn't bored in this movie at all. I wasn't checking my watch.
Neither was I. I do think I can't stress this enough. If you go into this movie going, I want to be scared, or if you have any preconceived notions about what this movie is, you're gonna have not as good of a time, because this movie really is, I can't stress that enough, an experience. It's going to take you on a ride that's very weird and intentional.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the scores. I gave it a very, very high score, 9 out of 10. I don't think it stands alone as like a classic genre jumping movie, but it's so good. It's just like, I can't think of anything that I could have done better.
Yeah. For me, I'd say this is, I've toyed with the 9. I think I have to go 10 on it because I've never seen anything like this. It's so unique, and it's so different from anything that I've ever seen, and it's so intentional and beautiful and strange. If you hear me just wax on and on about this, it's because I'm still working it out. This movie is so weird to me.
Yeah. We're writing down the beats to hit when we talk about the movie. There's so much packed into it. There's just so much to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe the fact that I didn't give it a 10 is that I still like Hereditary better.
Yeah.
Like, I think for whatever reason, that one was more impactful. This one was such a slow burn that I might not appreciate it enough. But like I said, I was like literally in the third act, I was sitting there and I just took a moment and realized, like, wow, I'm really like feeling a lot of dread and a lot of anxiety right now, and I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, it's such a subjective thing, though. You know, everybody's experience is going to be different. What's your score for it, Garrett?
At least a 9. I wouldn't be able to go 8 on it. Yeah. I don't know about 10, but
sounds like you're landing on a 9.
Yeah, 9 is it's like Bryce said, it's one of those things where it's like you think about it and you go, well, there's not really. I read a bunch of other people's reviews on it, and they go, they're just picking it apart just to say, well, they wrote this character slightly, and you're going, no, you're just being a nitpicky person. Like, take it in as an experience, and it's fantastic. Everything about it was very well done.
Yeah, it's weird being like dubbing yourself a reviewer,
right?
You know, for a podcast, because you realize how subjective it is.
So douchey.
You're like, wow,
yeah.
Like how. To me, it's like just a no-brainer. This is a great film, fantastic. And then I hear other people say like, "Ugh, it's the worst."
Yeah,
it was the boringest movie.
And other people who you know and respect, you know, but like there are other podcasts that have been like, meh. You know, the other podcasts that I listen to that are horror themed, and they'll be like, bleh. But then I just realize, then you just have to go, well, it's just like your opinion, man.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get into spoilers, we're going to talk about ourselves a little more. First, I want to give a plug. God damn it.
Having a rough day today, Bryce.
I am.
Are you
rubber
okay?
baby bumper boogers, big boogers.
Wow,
okay.
you messed that up.
I'm ready now.
Barely got rubber
beginning.
out.
So the Patreon for Horror Movie Talk, I think we still just have one tier because we're too lazy to change it. Yeah. But it's going to change soon. Many different tiers. But one of the things we've been offering is afterpods. If you just love listening to me and David drone on and can't get enough, well, there's more if you join Patreon. We do this afterpod. After we end the episode, we just leave the mics rolling and we talk, we shoot the shit. Maybe not necessarily about horror stuff, maybe about stuff going on in our lives, other stuff we've watched. But we've gotten some feedback from our patrons that actually like it and find it pretty compelling.
Yeah, all the people I've talked to have been like, I really like, it's almost more compelling than the horror movie podcast.
It's something about just listening, and this is any other podcast, it's something about just listening to other people about their lives,
right?
That give it. You go, oh yeah, everybody else is just some boner going through life like me.
Yeah, it's so weird because I read podcast forums about things that people like and people hate about podcasts, and it's just two sides of the spectrum every time. Because I hear some people that just love hearing personal stories, and then I hear people just saying like, I hate that they just talk about what went on in the week for 20 minutes before they get to what they're going to talk about.
Right,
and so I'm cognizant of two types of people, and I assume that a lot of people are here just to listen to people talk about horror movies.
Yeah.
But if you like us as personalities, I mean,
first of all, what's wrong with you?
First of all, sorry. I don't know what's going on in your life, but hopefully you get better. But also, if that's you, if you're diseased in your mind, you can become a patron and listen to great stories like this one.
Here's a little clip from one of our afterpods.
And then Garrett's here, so he can even comment on this afterwards. This is a great story from the
famous story.
From the realm of day.
1 week as a early middle teenager, in the summer, my mom went to California.
You told me this story
My mom
before.
went to California, leaving 3 men, young men, two young men and a man-child at the house, and my dad was in charge. And so it's the summer, and so he's like, you guys gonna have to come to Winco with me. It's a grocery store, big Costco-esque grocery store. You guys are gonna have to come to it with me because I don't know what you idiots eat. So let's go. So we get in the car, we go to Winco, and we have a cart, and we're pushing it, and nothing in the car. There's like a banana in the cart, one. And then we're walking down the first aisle we get to, and we see some Gatorade. And my dad's like, you guys like Gatorade? And we're like, yeah, sure. Gatorade's good. And so he's like, okay, get your flavor. Get your favorite flavor. And we're like, I don't know, blue or orange. We put it in the cart. He goes, get another. Get more than that. I'm like, okay. So we put another one in. And he's like, he kind of like looks at us real sly, and he's like, get more. And so we're kind of like looking at each other like something's happening right now, but we're not sure what. He's like, put more Gatorade in the cart. So we put more in, and then he's like, let's get some fucking Gatorade. Like some switch flips, and he turns into a Gatorade monster. And before you know it, the cart is full of hundreds of gallons of Gatorade. And he goes, get another cart. And Garrett and I are looking at each other like, what the fuck is going on right now? So we get another cart, because we're just, at this point, we're wrapped up in whatever this weird impulse is. We're just like, what's going to happen? This is the fucking weirdest thing that's ever happened. And so we get another cart, we fill it up. We empty Costco out of Gatorade to the point, not Costco, Winco, to the point where there's on the side of the water Gatorade shit, there's powdered Gatorade that you can turn water into Gatorade with. He's like, get it. So we had Gatorade that we gave away to people in our house for 4 years. Well past the expiration date of whatever this Gatorade could have been, but it didn't really matter because it's just Gatorade. So that's...
Did he ever take it to his workers?
I don't think so. It just sat in the garage, and we would just, drink sugar water.
Because what does your dad do?
Now he's an arborist.
Was he not doing that back then?
No, back then he was like landscape maintenance. He ran a pretty landscape maintenance company.
Oh, yeah.
Which could have used Gatorade.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, like, that's what I would have gone to. I would have thought that he was like, I can use this anyways. Like,
it has nothing to do with the practicality of it.
Every day I've got, like, 5, workers that could drink, like, a gallon of this.
No.
Every day.
It doesn't have anything. There's no practicality behind it.
Purely, I want to get my sons all the Gatorade.
I just want to... No, it's not even that. I just need to spend money. I got a couple $100 in my pocket, and it has to go. It has to get out of here. It's a very gambling, it's a very addict-esque thing.
Yeah.
There's still Gatorade powder in their house.
Is there really?
Wow.
Yeah, back in the back cupboard, there's still Gatorade powder back there.
It's over a decade old at this point. It's 15 years old.
20, easily 20 years old.
No. It's
Yeah,
like 20
I'm
years
30.
Wow.
Yeah, so Garrett, can you corroborate that story?
Oh, man. The cashier looked at us, and she was like, what the fuck is going on? What are these people? And the best part was we put like 2 gallons in there, and then he looks at both of us, and it was get more Gatorade. You like Gatorade? Get more.
He had...
And it was what started it was he got a big bonus, like a big giant bonus, and he was like, if your mom finds out about this, we don't get to have any fun with this. So we have to go have fun. And his version of fun was going and buying candy or cookies or crap at Winco, and then it was just the Gatorade flip. Let's get Gatorade.
Let's get some.
Wow.
He had an unquenchable thirst. Did we get food or anything? Like, did we get I remember the carts being so full and heavy.
We could almost not push
that
them.
we couldn't even push them. Like the cart was buckling under like 400 gallons of Gatorade, and there was two carts.
Yeah, and then like
and
another
they're Winco
cart,
carts, so they're not small carts.
Yeah, and then another cart of just like chips and Hot Pockets.
My dad knows how to go full R-worded.
So yeah, those stories and more can be found in our Patreon exclusive Afterpod. So check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/horrormovietalk. You can also support the podcast by buying or renting any movie or product on Amazon if you click through the green button in the header of our website. There's also a button for the Patreon if you want to get there through the website. And then Shudder, if you are a fan of horror, it's a streaming platform for horror movies. And if you use the code HMT at checkout, you get a 30-day free trial, which is much better than their shitty 7-day free trial.
I always like how you guys say that shitty 7-day free trial, and they're still like doing stuff for you, kind of
shitty.
Your shitty
7-day free trial for idiots.
Stupid idiots. I can't stop laughing about that fucking Gatorade thing.
Yeah.
It's so strange to me even now.
Oh, I totally understand it now. I get it.
Yeah, well, you work with him.
Yeah.
So anyways, thanks again for listening, and let's get into spoilers.
Spoilers. Get kind of breathy there.
Yeah. Okay, so we got so much to talk about with this movie. It's going to be hard to cover it all.
Ridiculous.
Buckle in, audience.
And Garrett.
Long ep. So it opens up with just just the cinematography and the directing in this movie is
beautiful.
Great. It opens up with the exact opposite of what you're going to see for the rest of the movie, which is winter shots of stark snow on the forest landscape of Sweden.
At night.
Yeah.
Was that Sweden, or was that like whatever town they were in?
Like Chicago.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like...
I think it was.
Okay. All right, guys.
It might have been.
That's the way I took it, because it then zoomed in on the house where the phone was ringing or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, it did a very Hereditary opening shot, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know about
Which is
that.
because Hereditary, it kept zooming in on those little houses that she built.
Right.
Yeah.
And then turning them into the scene.
So it zooms in. I think the phone is ringing during it, and you hear the message machine pick up and hear Danny leave a message for her sister and her parents, leave a message for her parents saying that her sister is acting real weird on email, and it pans over and you see her parents are not reacting at all, and they're just sitting in their bed.
Just asleep in their bed.
And you would there's a question of like, do they just not hear it, or is there something going on? Because it's like, it's a pretty loud answering machine.
Oh, yeah. I totally took it as they just didn't hear it.
Yeah. So Danny is again played by someone, and Pew. She is really worried about her sister. She's been emailing her and getting no response, and apparently her sister has a volatile, emotional makeup.
Well, I think what was interesting, what I took from it is, and I think that the actress Elizabeth Pugh, what's her name? Pugh?
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh. I thought it was a really interesting... The way I took it was, she's kind of overreacting. Just overreacting. Yeah. And then it's like, oh no, she is most certainly not overreacting. Yeah. And that girl did an amazing job.
Yeah, all the acting was great in this movie.
The acting was... especially when she was crying. Go ahead, and then we'll get into the other.
No, there's a... So... It's revealed that there is actually much to worry about, because her parents and her sister died in a murder-suicide of carbon monoxide poisoning. Her sister hooked up the cars, and snaked some tubes of garden hose up to the parents' room, and then taped it around her mouth like a mask, and kills her parents and herself.
Just
absolutely dreadful.
Ugh.
It's a scene that will really stick with you. If you don't like having unpleasant things in your head, man, you think carbon monoxide poisoning, the silent killer. It's silent. It's not a big deal. Man, it's so gross to see this girl with a hose taped to her mouth.
That shot down the hallway.
That's just
her looking back at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
There's a story that I'll have to share on the Afterpod about my aunt got carbon monoxide poisoning, like slow carbon monoxide poisoning, and from just a leak in her oven or something.
Wow.
From it being installed wrong. And she literally has brain damage now because of it.
God damn.
Yeah. Anyways, that's scary stuff.
Share that hold on to that for the Afterpod.
Yee.
You get to hear sweet stories like how Bryce's relatives got brain damage.
So throughout this, we see Danny calling her boyfriend Christian to lean on him for support. And something's not quite right in their relationship, because she's... this quote that I just love. Danny said, "I'm very lucky to have you." and his response is,
"Yeah, well." He literally just goes,
"Yeah, well." And she's so wrapped up in her, emotion that she's not really realizing that Christian is definitely on his way out.
Well, and
I think she notices a little bit, but definitely wrapped up in mourning.
Yeah. And like you said, Garrett, there was a real scene, like when she realizes what happened to her family, there is like pretty much the same scene that's in Hereditary.
The Toni Collette scene.
Of just screaming and moaning, just abject misery and sadness.
I think probably the best depiction of somebody in that state that I have ever seen. Somebody who has not actually gone through it. She's just acting that out, obviously, and I couldn't imagine having to act that out.
Yeah, it's what he has done very well with both movies, which is just incredibly realistic depictions of intense emotion,
right?
Which you supposedly see that in almost every movie. That's what makes movies interesting. But to see it done so realistically, it's alarming and heavy. It is heavy to experience.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, for some reason, like that scene, both in Hereditary and this movie, of just a woman wailing. Some could interpret it as, well, that's a very melodramatic, that's a very movie thing, but also that happens in real life, and in this case, it feels very, very real.
It sure does.
So the whole time before all that's happening, Christian is with his friends at a bar or something like that, and they're all going, Christian, you need to dump her, get rid of this girl, pick up a new one. Which kind of sets up the whole... that sets up the whole
dynamic.
Yeah, the whole dynamic and the group dynamic and how they feel about her.
Yeah, his friends are... he definitely commiserates with his friends about his girlfriend, and that's very apparent. And they're like, why are you still here? Because he's probably been complaining for like a year about her at this point. Mm-hmm. And especially his friend Mark, which is also kind of a dick. It was like, just dump her.
He's the one.
He's like tired of hearing about her.
Him and the black guy are the two people that I recognized in this movie from other movies.
I only recognize Mark. I don't know anybody else.
Yeah, Mark is played by Will Poulter. He's got a very recognizable face.
Yeah, he's a very notable.
He's been in
face.
We're the Millers and a bunch of other movies that I haven't actually seen. But you might recognize him from I think he was a child actor.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the Josh is played by William Jackson Harper, which I know from The Good Place on TV. The show with Kristen Bell.
Okay.
Anyways, he's really good on that. It's a good comedic part for him. But yeah, everyone else I didn't really recognize from anything, but they're all great actors.
It's fabulous actors. Yeah, especially the leading lady. She was very good. And the Swedish guy. What was his name again?
Pele.
Pele, played by...
Actually, all of them were just so well done. The boyfriend was... I mean, I didn't want to say him originally because he's such a dick.
Yeah.
He's the low-key worst friend you have.
Yeah, this is great. Christian is a realistic asshole throughout the movie. That's what I take away is that it's not like a over-the-top movie antagonist. It's very much just a guy that's a little too self-interested.
Yeah.
And a little too unempathetic. No, I think it was
I thought he was
twirling.
No, I didn't think that either. I just thought he was like a dude who was clearly he didn't know what to do with his life because when they're in the bar they're like, "Yeah, you got to figure out what you're going to do for your thesis and you still don't know what to do for your thesis and you need to dump her and he just a lost guy who didn't know if he was being a dick or if he wasn't trying to be. He was just kind of rolling with the punches, and he kind of fell into this relationship. He fell into this thing.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to, and he was maybe a little bit of a pussy because he didn't want to he didn't want to attack his thesis. He didn't want to make a big change and break up with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Just traveling
through
life.
It's all believable, but then the later occurrences where you see some decisions that Christian makes, you're like, yeah, maybe he is just kind of
selfish.
Kind of a dick.
Yeah, but you still didn't want to see what happened.
Well, I mean,
I think that was interesting because towards the end we'll get there, but you go, he doesn't deserve that.
I mean, he deserves something, but not that.
Right. No one deserves any of this.
Yeah.
That's the real thing.
Leave him stranded in the middle of the city, and that's worth it. Just leave him there.
I mean, you can do the same thing. Just don't put him in the bear suit. That's just humiliating, So, this is actually. I have a clip of the actor Jack Rayner, which I wrote down as a poor man's Chris Pratt from Profile. Here's the clip of Jack talking about his character.
I think from the time we met each other, we both had a pretty clear understanding and agreement of where the character was to be pitched. And
he's Irish.
What interested me in taking on the role was, not to play this guy as a one-note antagonist, but to kind of acknowledge the fact that we've all, to some degree, been guilty of the crimes that Christian commits in this film in the relationship, and we've also been in Florence's shoes as well, Danny's shoes. I think that's part of our human nature, and so for me the challenge was to exhibit that, given how callous this guy is on the page and how insensitive he has the capacity to be. And that was why I wanted to take on the role, because it wasn't going to be easy to do that.
Is he Irish or Australian?
Irish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that all the characters were believable. There is no character that except for all the cult people, but
they're pretty believable.
Yeah, Ari Aster is a really good writer. One of the notes I put down is that he's really good at writing realistic arguments.
Yeah.
Because so Danny finds out about the Swedish trip a week before he's leaving, and she's like, "What? You've never told me that you're going to leave for a month-long trip to Sweden?" And he's like, "I guess it never came up."
Yeah,
I thought I mentioned it. Yeah, I told you.
Told you I wanted to go.
Anyways, this argument about the Swedish trip was just great because, he takes it from I told you about it,
Didn't I?
And she's like, "I'm not mad. I just want to understand." And that's such a for some reason I haven't seen that in a film before. Of just, I'm trying to be reasonable with you, because mostly in film, you write an argument to create conflict, and so that's your intention, is create as much conflict as I can.
Right. Here's a smash you in the face argument to show that these characters are mad. Instead, you get, with this movie, nuance and subtlety.
Yeah, if you think of go ahead.
With the way it's written, because it's not a big fight. It's a small quarrel that you can tell bothers her much more than she lets on to him.
Right.
Because she's afraid that she's going to push him away more.
There's a lot of subtext on there. There's like, you don't, that's the reality of having a committed relationship, is that you never want to go nuclear. Like, you have the ability to, but you don't want to.
No.
You know? If you think of like a rom-com argument, it's like they get into a huge argument, blow up everything, and you're, as a real person, you're asking like, well, why didn't he just explain the one thing?
They never say what they actually need to say.
Yeah. So yeah, Ari Aster doesn't make compromises in these characters and these interactions.
Yeah.
So this festival is described by the friend Pele as a 9-day festival with lots of pageantry. Which is a great way of describing it.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. Yeah, man. They are sold something, such a tremendous lie of omission.
I think the best, one of the best villains, really the best villain, is this guy that's looking you right in the face and going, oh no, it'll be great. It's fantastic. I want you all to be there.
I'm so happy you're going, especially you.
And just knowing what's going to happen, like, and you didn't, like, even at the end, you didn't really cast him as the villain,
because that's the beauty of this movie. Is you
cast Christian as the villain?
He's nobody's the villain. Even the cult aren't villains. Everybody is just doing this thing that they do.
This dude, the dude's been he's in college with him. He's been in Western society.
But to him, this is the way his culture works.
But even he, like, on the 2 suicide thing, when that happens, he goes, oh, well, you guys just, it's a different culture. Like, he understands the difference. He totally gets the difference between the 2 cultures. He just is like, I think he's a total evil dude.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's something nefarious about it. I mean, it's the same thing with the Nazis, where it's like these SS soldiers are like, I was just doing my job, man. It's like, it just made sense at the time. Like, from my culture, it makes sense to entrap people and get them to unwillingly go into a human sacrifice.
Drug them for 4 days. And
look, no argument from me that it is not a good thing, but everybody, it's very clear that these people are like, they've drank the Kool-Aid.
Right.
They are in it
mushrooms
for the long haul. They believe to the point that they are willing to lay down their lives when they turn 72. Like, that's the thing that we do in this culture, and we all accept it, and not just accept it, but value it.
Yeah, that's one of the main devices in this movie that works very well, not only for explaining the internal logic of the characters, but also as an audience for why you react how you do, is that it's experiencing something completely foreign.
Yeah.
A foreign culture, and there's something latently terrifying about that, but you can't accept it as terrifying because you have to, like, tell yourself, well, I just must not understand why they do this. Like, it must be me, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is throughout the whole movie. You're like, well, is that bad though? You know, I mean,
they all seem to be okay with it.
I mean, what in our culture do we do that's terrifying to them? Like, and it puts you in this really weird relativistic mindset to where you're completely numbed to what's really going on, even when truly horrifying things happen. And then you see. So let's hop forward to the first sacrifice. Like,
I need to respond to that though, because it's so critical to describing this movie. Is it does throw you into this place of like, well, this is kind of fine, right? They're all okay with it, so it must be okay. And so the overall experience of watching the movie is, for me anyway, is I was not as alarmed as I should have been the whole time. I was buying it. You know? I was like okay with everything that happened.
Yeah.
To the point that I didn't even have big reactions. I was like, at the end of the movie, I was kind of like, this seems like a nice place to be. Like, I would go live like this.
Right. That's the thing. Like, when I realized how anxious I was, it's that feeling of like, I don't belong here, but like I can't look away,
right?
Because it wasn't terrifying to where I was reacting strongly. Well, I mean, there's a couple points where there is strong reactions from myself, but for the most part, yeah, it was just like dread built up from experiencing it.
Right.
I kept going back and putting myself in the shoes, and putting yourself in the shoes of the cult, and you go, oh, I mean, they're okay with it. They've all accepted this and they live with this. And then you snap back and you put yourself in the shoes of
you.
Of one of the Americans, or of you watching it, and you go, Jesus Christ, how would I respond in this situation?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to try to jump back and forth on those two things.
Yeah, it is. And it's also interesting to, like, I know certain things about myself, and at one point in this, I'm not exactly sure which, but I've done this in life where I would just run. Like, I would just run away into the woods, like, without a plan. Like,
fuck this shit.
I could die out there. I don't care. I have to go away.
One thing that Bryce wanted to move on, but what I like that Ari Aster does is the way that he plays with the camera.
Oh yeah.
And like when she's going into the bathroom, and then it pans over the top of the bathroom wall.
Ugh.
And then she switches and she's in the airplane.
Yeah.
Number one, biggest airplane toilet that there ever has been. That's the only, during that scene, that's the only thing I could think of. Like going, geez, I wish I was on that plane. That's got a big ass toilet in there.
Yeah.
You can spread your legs a little bit.
Bryce and I could have both fit easily in there.
Right.
But the way that he does the camera work.
Yeah, the camera, there's a couple like really cool
transition shots.
Transitions and decisions from a directing standpoint. There's that transition to the airplane bathroom is seamless. And then as they're traveling to the festival, there's like cool camera things where they're putting it upside down and you're kind of like feeling like you're entering a different realm. They kind of quote from The Shining with the forest shots, like the overhead shots, which, I mean, I guess if you're going to film a forest, you have to do that now.
Disorienting in a drug trip sort of way.
Yeah, and then they set that up because they arrive in this field and are immediately like offered psychedelic drugs.
Yeah, they're big on mushrooms in this community.
And they, throughout the whole movie, the feeling is that they're being pretty consistently dosed with psychotropic substances, and really cool visual effects related to that. Just very subtle, trippy, like what do you call it? Like modulations,
you to
or just like
it's forcing a visual hallucination on the audience,
right?
And I really noticed it at the end when she has the flowers.
Right.
Yeah.
And that one flower kept breathing at you.
Yeah.
But I want to go back and rewatch it to see how much more I missed.
It's all the background. Whenever they're high.
Yeah.
Whenever they're very high.
But I want to see if they do it more.
Things are changing ever so slightly.
Yeah. And there's a great scene when a Christian is like very heavily drugged, and it's just right in the part where he's actually down the path of no return for his character, to where he doesn't realize like
he's dead, what
his fate is. And they're sitting at a table and he's like, what is going on? And just an old guy,
he turns
around and claps right in front of his face.
He says, what's happening? He turns to this kindly looking old man, and the old man just claps his hands in his face.
Yeah, kind of angrily, but just once. It's just more like he knows that it's gonna fuck up this guy's head, so he does it. And then you just see this like subtle waviness like around Christian's head, and he's just like,
it was dizzy making.
Turns his head down like a scolded dog kind of thing, and it's cool. It's really cool to watch, and like very effective storytelling too.
It sure is.
So let's skip forward to the first big ritual. I can't remember what it's called. I wrote it down, but I didn't write it down here. Anyways, Pele the night before is like, get excited. The first big ritual's coming up.
Ready.
Yeah.
You guys love this.
And then Josh, he's like, we're doing the whatever it's called. Like he says the name of it before, and he's like how like, how close are you actually going to do that? And he's like, Pele's like, I mean, pretty actually close. And, like, Josh looks at Christian and Danny, and he just kind of gives a smirk and is like, buckle up, I know what it is. Because they're all, like, anthropology students. And Josh specifically is there to do his thesis on this festival.
Yeah.
He wants to get
pagan rituals.
Yeah, he wants to get all in on these pagan festivals in Sweden. And so he already has done a bunch of research, and he's probably the most well-equipped for it.
When Pele said this is what we're doing, he had that look on his face like,
whoa,
oh,
holy shit,
fuck.
Really? That's gonna happen? I should mention, to set this up a little bit more, so they are driven far. They are driven
4 hours?
4 hours outside of any major city, and then they hike in for like a day. And so they are vastly separated from society by large distances in a totally different country, and they come upon a very beautifully well-kept village of buildings, some fairly large buildings that are communal houses, and they're separated by age group. And so these visitors, our party, they sleep in basically the kids' building. Anyone under 30-something sleeps in this building. And then there's like a food building and and like a ritual building and a few other buildings, and it's this big, beautiful, idyllic property.
Yeah, very minimalistic.
Yeah, very Swedish. So anyways, the first big ritual, it starts with them eating dinner at this rune-shaped table. Looks like a diamond shape that's extended at one end.
Yeah.
Then these old people arrive at the table, and you're like, okay. Oh, they're all standing at the table. No one's eating yet. They're waiting for something. And these old people arrive, and when they sit down, everyone sits down. And when they drink and eat, everyone drinks and eats. When they drink, you see like a semblance of fear in the old woman's eyes. Like, you're like, huh, what's
You kind of know what's going to happen, but
yeah, you get a feeling.
You get a feeling
throughout the whole movie. They don't like tip it off too much, and it all feels very natural. It's not like
you know what's
going to
happen.
Yeah,
the whole way through, you know each thing that's going to happen. There's no real big surprises.
Yeah, I wish there was I wish I had known nothing about it at all. I bet this movie would be like a really different experience if you didn't know that it was by a horror movie director.
Right.
I didn't. So I knew that. But I didn't know. I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't watch anything about it. I didn't read anything about it. David told me a couple months ago that this is coming out, and he said it's by the Hereditary guy, and I went, okay, I don't want to know anything.
Right.
And it was a very cool experience to go into.
So they are at this table, and then after they're done, they take the old people off on chairs, like these little chariots, carrying them off, and then they go to these cliffs, and you're like, someone's gonna fall off this.
Boy,
cliff.
that's a real intentional looking cliff.
They go. Oh yeah, and also of note, Mark, the friend, skips this part.
Yeah,
and that's semi-important later on, but they bring them up to the top of these cliffs, these old people. They cut their hands, make some bloody handprints on these rune stones, and then the woman goes to the top of the cliff and stares intently at Danny for some reason.
And everybody's like half the community's down below, like underneath.
Yeah.
I liked how they always spread themselves out.
Yeah.
In 5-yard distances.
Right.
In a very...
yeah. It's
added
cool.
to it a little bit.
That's
like
a good point.
they have okay, this is my spot and this is where I watch this go down.
Yeah. And the shot looks up from the ground up to these cliffs, and they're probably like 100 feet up or something like that. And 85. You just see like just the head poking up over the cliff looking at Danny, and then she jumps off and just
splat.
That was I thought about it when she did that, and what I really liked about it was the way that he did the camera like 200 feet away, and it wasn't like most movies where you get like wind rushing as this person's falling and then like bones breaking and all this crap. It was like jump.
Yeah,
and it was the most realistic, like silent, like nope, that life just got snuffed out. And that's it.
That's a thing so notable about this scene in particular. Like, the whole movie is really well lit, and they're outside and it's daylight.
It's beautiful.
But this scene in particular is very oversaturated or overexposed. So it's super like bright, like people are glowing. It's so bright.
Yeah.
So the camera's overexposed, but the sound is completely muted. Like everything feels like you're under like 2 feet of water listening to it, and then the sound effects of her hitting the ground are just sounds like what that would sound like.
Like a sack of potatoes.
It's this horrifically violent, terrible act
that happens in an instant
of committing suicide that is very emotionally jarring, but also the experience of it is so not notable. Right? It's designed like everything else in this movie to just lull you into seeing horrible things happen and being okay with it. You're just a lamb.
Yeah, and then the old guy jumps off, and it's a little more extreme.
I don't know why you would jump off like that.
He jumps off and lands on his feet. Note to self, bad idea. He just snaps his legs in half, and he's laying.
I think it was intentional.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's laying, and he's still alive, but like very broken and bloodied. And then they slowly walk up to him, 3 of the cult members with a giant wooden mallet.
But as he's on the ground, he starts freaking out because he's alive still.
Yeah.
And you get the first feeling of this cult where they take on somebody else's pain. Where he's
I didn't even
dying.
think of that. I didn't even
he's
think
dying,
of that.
and everybody in the crowd, 40 or 50 people in the crowd, all start wailing just like he is.
Oh, man,
and they're taking on his emotional pain.
That's a really good observation.
And setting that up for later with Danny. But
see, I thought it was that was their first like, oh, this is not going right. Like,
really?
this went wrong. Like now it's not like the ritual. This is like, oh no, that we're feeling really bad for him.
Right.
But there's like a mechanism to take care of this. But yeah, you're right. They're probably just mirroring his pain.
Because when
they do that later,
when the old lady is talking to the Christian and Danny, and the European or the English people are freaking out about it, because you just watched 2 people commit suicide, and she says, well, no, these people are giving back their life to us, and they're that baby, the pregnant lady, that baby is going to have the name of this girl or the woman who committed suicide, and it's their way of like.
It's the circle of life.
A really sad circle of life.
Yeah, like, no, that's a really good observation. So they bring in this giant wooden mallet, that's probably about like 4 feet tall, and then the mallet itself is like 2 feet wide.
It's a good 30-pound mallet.
And they walk up and just same thing, muted sound, just like thunk.
Yeah,
and then even close up on his head, getting completely crushed and like exploded. It's still just like thunk.
Yeah,
and
it's all meant to make you okay with this horrible thing,
right? So that's the important thing, is the reactions to everyone to this ritual. So
and the two...
Josh, the black guy that's the anthropology student that's doing his thesis on this, he's just bemused. Like he's like, wow, this is really fascinating.
Yeah, what an interesting study. Yeah, it's like watching a fisherman take a fish off of the hook and then thunk it on the head. It is done with that amount of emotion.
Right.
There's just total detachment.
Christian is like, he's affected heavily, like he's throwing up, but then later he's like, I want to do my thesis on this. Which is the other indication that, like, oh, Christian's a huge asshole, because he knows that that's the whole purpose that he's here.
No, it's cool, Josh. We can collaborate.
Right.
And then Danny immediately wants to leave. She's, like, done with it.
Yeah, and she has obviously a very hard experience going through that, considering what she just went through earlier in the year.
Yeah. And then the other... Were they English? I thought they were American, but I might have remembered that wrong.
They were English.
There's an English couple that were there, too, and they want to leave. But then they just kind of disappear. from the movie, and it's very like suspicious circumstances. The girl is like, where's my boyfriend? And he's like, and the people are explaining very calmly that he went off in the truck and they didn't have room for her, and she's like, he wouldn't do that. Like, why wouldn't he tell me? Like, why wouldn't I just sit on his lap? And they just very calmishly and Swedishly say, we don't break traffic laws.
I could have sat on his lap in the truck. Hey, girl, we don't do that here. That's not one of our traditions.
And to note, those are the people that were freaking out the most at the whole ritual.
Yeah.
They were wigging out like massively.
Sorry, it's just.
No, we're doing good on time.
Yeah.
So, side note, completely unrelated to anything, and I did want to say this. This was the easiest movie to take notes in.
Yeah, it was so bright.
It was so bright. I could see exactly where I was writing. Anyways, moving on. So the bodies of the old people are burned in a pyre, and the ashes are spread by this tree, which is important because Mark...
This big dead tree.
Does not. I don't think they even told Mark what happened, because he doesn't seem to be very fazed by...
He was like, oh, I missed all the fun. You guys let me miss all the fun. What's going on? And Mark set up this whole movie as the doofus dork who's just along to get...
And has the best... Yeah, he's a great comedic relief, especially early on.
Fabulous.
When he has the bad trip.
Yes. You guys need...
It's Josh, 9 o'clock. Why is it still bright?
Josh, please lie down. Everybody needs to be lying down right now.
He goes, I think it might feel good to lie down. That's a very realistic drug trip, like a very realistic drug trip starting to go awry, where the guy's like, I'm feeling uncomfortable, and then he's like, maybe if I lie down, I'll feel better. And he lies down. He's like, oh, this
much
feels
better.
so good. You guys need to lie down. No, seriously, lie down right now, or else the world might come undone if you don't lie down right now.
So Mark does not notice that the ashes are being spread by this sacred tree, and he proceeds to piss on the tree. And that's the first indication of oh, these guys, these Swedish people are
business.
not to be fucked with. They're all
don't
the first time you see them not being Swedish.
Don't
not being
when
pleasant.
Reacting to Mark peeing on their sacred tree. And then Mark just kind of disappears. Or wait, is he the one that gets let off and he says, a
girl approaches him during dinner and she's like, come, I'm going to show you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm going to show you.
And then he says, I'll be back, I guess. She's going to show me.
She's going to show me.
And then he never comes back.
The whole early part of the movie, she's making eyes at him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. She's got feels for him. The way she approaches him at this, it's
big
quiet.
Giant dinner.
It's so before every meal, the tradition is you fucking sit there quietly with your thoughts for 20 minutes before anybody can eat. There's this big lead in of essentially what appears to be meditation on the part of everyone. But the Americans don't. They just can't. They can't be anything other than American for 5 seconds. So basically, they're talking through everyone's meditation almost every dinner. Everyone's sitting there quietly, and it's so uncomfortable. But the Americans just can't help themselves but to talk. And so he's blah, 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 blah. And
this dinner looks shitty, boy.
He says out loud in front of
it's like they
80,
try to make it look gross.
in front of 80 cult members. He's like, duh, this looks so gross. And then this girl approaches him just
in the middle of dinner.
In the middle of meditation. And she's like, come, I'm going to show you. And he's like, whoa. This is pretty direct and everybody can hear everything you're saying. And she's like, come on, I'll show you. I'm going to show you. And he's like,
all right.
She's going to show me, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Before that, I think before that, or the day earlier, the cult members were playing a game where they, snake or whatever. What is that? Where they follow each other.
Mm-hmm. Centipede?
No, conga line. They're doing a conga line.
Oh, okay.
And Christian asks Pele what they're playing, and he says it's Skin the Fool.
Oh, man, you're good at this. Why don't you have a horror movie podcast?
I'm better at this than you guys.
So they're he's led away, and is this the meat pie one?
No. You see him one more time, but it's just his face.
Well, yeah.
Oh, well, right.
Yeah, you see his... No, I'm talking about... Is this the dinner, the one that he's led away from? Is that the meat pie one? Okay, that's not
It's
that.
like a salad, I
Okay.
think. Like a caprese salad.
So both Josh and Christian are decided that they're going to do their thesis on this place. So they're like talking with the village elders and trying to get all the inside information that they can get.
They did something else first. Josh went and he talked to the old dude, and the old dude was showing him the book in the really special temple with the.
No, it wasn't in the temple. It wasn't in the yellow building.
No.
It was
in the book.
Yeah,
the
it was
library.
like the
in the book
sacred
depository.
library.
In the book depository.
Yes.
Before Christian decided to do the thesis, Josh was like asking, "Can I take pictures of this book and stuff?" And the guy was like,
"Fuck no, you can't take pictures of this."
It was written by our oracle, and then you meet the oracle, which I thought they'd have more on the oracle.
Yeah, that was one thing that I thought maybe they have more of this and they just didn't use
it. They just didn't. Yeah.
Well, the oracle, he or she, I'm not sure which, was the one unidyllic looking part of this whole thing. So of course it had to be used in the trailer, right?
Right.
This heavily inbred person.
Yeah. Well, they even say in the he just says it nonchalantly that he's intentionally inbred for the retardation because Reuben,
you said the R word.
The guy that's the oracle is unaffected by normal cognition, is how they put it.
Right.
And so what he does is he does these scribbled drawings of what's going on, and then they interpret it in these books. And how they describe it is the runes on this book are sheet music for feelings. And there's like 9 different... I think there's 9. Did I get that?
9 different feelings.
9 different like emotions or feelings or states that they write, and then they're like transcribing the events of this festival through their oracle that's R-worded.
The oracle makes sense because you kept seeing the oracle listen to the oracle was listening later on in the most unpleasant sex ever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. As we're dissecting this movie, it's becoming more and more apparent to me how much of a social commentary this is. Like, you're being led by a fool. Like, not just a fool, but an inbred R word. And you're complicit, and you're here and you could leave.
But you just don't.
You could change things, but Jesus Christ, it's really hard when you're so drugged out of your mind, isn't it, you stupid idiot? There's all these suggestions that is, or parallels.
One thing that we haven't talked about at all, but I realized just the math of this. They say it's a 9-day festival that happens every 90 years. Mm-hmm. Like, is that long enough for, like, this kind of tradition to get passed on?
I don't understand.
Like, especially if they kind of admit that people die around 72. Like, imagine that
they bring in outsiders.
That you're, like, that your family, this tradition, like, you've never actually seen it occur. You've only heard it written in books. And you're like, yeah, let's commit to this festival that hasn't been done for 100 years, but is super important. Really.
That's why I asked you guys earlier, like, what you thought about Pele lying, because you don't know everything's number one drugged out. Everybody's drugged out. But then they have a May Queen, and they have pictures of like the last 20 May Queens.
Yeah,
and
they must have some sort of festival, but this specific ritual happens every 90 years.
That was kind of the way I took it as well.
I think about it more like this is just a lie. It goes back to me just thinking Pele is
a lie to get you here.
Yeah, a lie to get you here, and we're just, you can't trust anybody there, and because
that could be.
Also because Pele earlier on was talking to Danny. He's like, "Oh, I'm super glad you're here because I identify with you because my parents both died in a fire."
Right.
In a tragic and unrelated fire.
in a structure fire. And you're like,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, so this guy admits that both of his parents were killed in a fire. And it's like, is that really... does this happen every 90 years? Or is it just like... Nah, maybe it's every 90 days. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Somebody's going to comment to us and school us up in exactly what's going on here.
What's his name?
The Weirdling.
The Weirdling is going to comment on this. So then they enter like kind of the finale ritual phase where there's a dancing competition.
We haven't gotten to Josh getting killed.
Josh. Oh yeah,
Josh.
How does Josh get
he
killed?
heads into the book depository.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he heads in ill-advised. You know, when a creepy pagan cult leader says, "No, of course not. You can't take pictures of our sacred relic book.
No selfies either. No."
And then you go into the sacred temple in, still basically the daylight, since it doesn't really get dark.
There's only 3 hours in nighttime.
And then start taking flash photography of said
in
sacred
front of a window.
Yeah. It's not going to work out great for you. So yeah, he's just clubbed over the head like a baby seal.
Over the head
by a person wearing his friend's face as a mask.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I forgot that.
He turns around and is like, "Mark, is that you?" And you go, "Boy, that is not Mark's body. That is Mark's face."
Yeah. So he's bonked on this head, and we don't see him anymore.
Pulls a Dwight.
And
he skins the mannequin.
It looks like he's wearing baloney on his face.
So throughout the movie, like, people just kind of disappear, and it doesn't seem like Christian or Danny are really reacting strongly. And then
parts of them show up.
Yeah, within the reality of the movie, though, like, it feels like they're pretty heavily drugged at this point, and they're just kind of going with the flow, and they're kind of trying to resist, but they can't. And it feels very like fated.
She keeps taking sleeping pills from Josh.
Right.
Every night she asks for a sleeping pill.
Man, I would need a sleeping pill too, because that fucking room where they sleep, there's that baby that never stops crying. That is the most unnerving part of the whole movie to me, is the thought of, number one, sleeping with like 30 or 40 strangers, people, and then this child that never stops crying at night. The whole anytime they're
asleep,
it's just this infant. And oh man, I don't care who you are. That is nails on a chalkboard.
So there's this dancing competition that Danny is roped into, and they use this competition to pick the May Queen. So they dance around in a circle while they're high as fuck, and whoever is the last one standing, because literally they're like running into each other and falling because they're high, whoever is standing at the end gets crowned the May Queen. While that's happening, Christian is taken into this other weird house with lots of weird drawings on the walls, and the old kind of woman elder is like, "Hey, this girl wants to have sex with you. You all right with that?"
The girl is... and before that was the
Pele's
sister. Pele's sister, and before that was the pie with the pubes.
Well, no,
the pube pie.
They're all sisters and brothers.
Right.
It's not really his sister.
Yeah.
It's not really his sister.
Oh,
it's not
really his sister.
It's not his.
No.
I don't believe it's his blood sister.
Right, because he says we were born on the same day.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, before this, at one of the dinners, they're eating these meat pies, and Christian takes out like this pube, this, red pube from the pie, and looks over this redhead.
The only redhead there.
Yeah. Looks over at the redhead, and he's like,
"I think I ate that girl's pube."
and so in this weird sex interview, like he even says, he says, "Oh yeah, that girl, yeah, I think I ate one of her pubes." And then the woman says, "Yeah, that's probably right.
That sounds about right."
And right before that, in the meat pie creation area, they start the cultists really start bringing in Danny, and being really friendly to her, pulling her in.
It's time for you to really start helping out around here and doing our customs.
You want to help the girls come and make pie? And she's like, "Yeah."
It's not even, "Do you want to?" It's like, it's time to do this.
Yeah. She's like, reluctant in a way, but also like, oh, these people are being nice to me.
Yeah,
all right,
I get to be included, and there's so much mushroom usage that it's like you're pretty easily influenced.
Malleable.
Yeah, and when you're not, you have the realization that I'm in the middle of nowhere with all these nice people who are being nice to me,
and that also it plays off of the dinner where we can't see where the English people went because the English people went and got murdered, and before that there was like they took the 3 shots of Josh and Christian and Danny, who are still there, and you hear the English girl scream in the background, and
and no one really reacts.
And all 3 of them kind of react a little bit, and they're like, nothing.
What was that?
Probably nothing.
Probably nothing.
What was that? What was
Probably
that
baby.
But
there was a baby?
And so at dinner, they're all talking about like, oh, where did they go? And they're like, oh, he left in the truck, and then they came back and grabbed her. And Danny like scathingly says to Christian, I bet you'd do that to me.
Yeah.
And like, so you really see the rift between
their
them,
relationship breaking down.
apart, and him more and more like not giving a shit about her, kind of, but also kind of.
Yeah,
like,
not that he's ever
right
at this point.
But like and it's probably the heavy drug use, but he's trying to like keep it together, but also he doesn't know how because he's never kept together anything in his life.
Right.
So, yeah, once Danny is crowned the May Queen, they, like, sweep her away and basically worship her. So it's like, it's heavily distracting to her. She doesn't know what's going on. In the meantime, Christian...
This is why it was given, or almost given, an X rating.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Christian is taken away to his sex meeting with this redhead.
Sex meeting.
And this is one of the notable scenes of the movie. He goes into this, like wide open, kind of dark,
warehousey
room with the redhead just laying in a like a bed of flowers and grasses, and she's just giving him the come hither stare. Very picturesque. And then there's, just kind of a semicircle of nude women around
14 nude old ladies.
Yeah, ranging in ages from, mid-20s to, like, mid-40s.
No, they were all 40.
There was not very many good boobs in this lineup. This is a lot of bad boobs, for sure. I'm unapologetic in
for
this.
some reason I wasn't noticing it as much as I would normally. I thought they had a wider age range, but I must be wrong. But yeah, there were some varying body types. Let's just say that. So
not that I have any room to like I'm not right. some catch or anything, but
you
I
did just run a half marathon.
But I thank you. Well, I mean,
they're not to toot your own horn.
A semicircle of Swedish women that are beautiful at any size.
Can you imagine what that room smelled like?
Flowers and vagina.
There was a lot of vagina in that room. A lot of open, airy bush.
And so they basically command Christian to unclothe himself.
Wasn't he?
Or was he unclothed?
Side discussion. I have to know. Bush or no bush? What's your pref?
None.
Trimmed.
Really? I would prefer the full bush. That personally.
Yeah,
is that what I get? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not going to let you know my private details.
What I come back to, and this is totally off, but
are we talking about Bush?
No, we're talking about the various body types.
Try and keep it on topic.
I'm sorry,
this is a professional podcast.
One of the only things I could think about whenever they were at dinner is, Christ, how could you survive on that little food? Like this tiny, like, quarter of a chicken breast and like a leaf.
Dude, people do that.
I know, and it blows my mind. I can't even. And that's all.
Well, yeah. Then the question is, like, if they're all eating the same thing and they're all doing the same work,
how did that lady get so big?
Yeah, why are there some women that are like 30 pounds overweight?
No, that's what I'm saying.
She's cooking the food. So
okay.
Tasting on the side.
She's eating all the pube pies.
That's why everybody else is so damn skinny.
Well, we got extra pube pies here. I might as well just take them into my bunk.
She's the purveyor of pubes.
So he starts having sex with the redhead, and all these women are like making these sounds, and I wrote to myself, not helping. And the look on his face,
and they get
is so convincing of just like, this guy is not enjoying this experience, and this is not easy.
And they get one woman gets right up in his face, like,
she's like encouraging him.
Eyes with him.
Yeah, that's the part that I wrote that. I remember now. Yeah,
losing it. I'm losing it.
Middle-aged woman just kneels down next to him, just like eye level.
You're doing good.
Like, don't. Oh no, she's singing. That's what it is.
Yeah, they start singing.
She's singing, but it kind of sounds like moaning.
There's a lot of this.
She's like,
a lot of theatrics. None of them were actually enjoying it.
Well, it's a lot of this shared emotion thing, right?
Right.
It's this mirroring your emotion thing. And this scene is really a testament to how horny a guy can be. Like it's like you think you, as a woman, you think you understand men, but you really can't.
Yeah, I'd like to show this to Erin and just have her react. Would this be feasible to a woman ever? And the answer has to be no.
If there was a dude sitting on the floor waiting for you to come F him, and then there was 14 other dudes standing behind him with erect junk.
I think I've actually seen that movie several times before.
Yeah, is this a thing that you... And if the answer is yes, like, more power to you, but I'm just saying it's not...
95% or 99% of all other women would be like, yeah.
But this dude, he's like... He's not loving it.
He looks like panicked. Like, what?
I gotta get this thing in here, and then gotta get it wet.
And then, like, eventually, towards the end, the old, like, Helga kneels down behind him and helps the final thrust. She's like, puts his hands on his ass and is like, deeper,
get
deeper
in there, get in there. Like,
okay, so then as
and
this
then the old lady tells him, it's time for you.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's do this.
You're kind of wasting a lot of time here.
That'd be great if, like, he looked up and one of the women in the semicircle was just like doing the hand motion of like, let's wrap it up, buddy. Just doing
finger
the finger over finger motion. Yeah,
tapping your wrist.
You know what time? You're like, dessert's about to be served. So
and while this is happening,
we got to air out this sex house.
we need to get it.
The 4:30. The first 4:30 is waiting outside the door right now. So
gotta hose it out.
While this is going on, they take Danny and bless the fields.
Yeah, they bless the fields, and then Danny hears like the moaning kind of singing coming from the house, and she's like,
she knows
something's going on, and they try to block her from going in, and she goes in and looks.
They don't try very hard.
Yeah, and then she looks through the world's largest keyhole. She could look at it. She could look through the keyhole from like a 3-foot distance away, and she sees what's going on, and then she's like distraught. She starts
as anyone, like, if I didn't know this guy and I looked through that keyhole, I'd be fucking distraught.
Yeah,
like I'd be like, Jesus Christ, what's happening in there?
And and then she starts crying, and they do the shared emotion thing with her.
Yeah,
and they take her into the shared bedroom house, and
a lot of sharing.
And then at this point, it just goes. I mean, it speeds up real quick. Lots of stuff happening at the finale of this movie because. Now they're like trapped.
Right.
Now, like
they're trapped and high as fuck.
And all of their friends are dead at this point.
Yeah, all their friends are gone.
It's just the couple.
Definitely the point of no return. Christian is at the next time we see him completely drugged to where they even just say like, calm down. You can't talk and you can't move.
He runs out naked.
He runs out naked into the chicken house.
Right.
Into the chicken coop. And he sees...
Oh, that's right. That's when you see that.
The young Englishman...
Who had... Bloody eagle. I looked it up.
The bloody... an old Viking torture method had been inflicted upon this dude. This dude was strung up in the chicken house, like held...
horizontally.
Face down. And they had ripped the skin off of his back, and they pulled out his lungs out of his back. And he was alive with his lungs outside of his back like wings over him. And he was breathing, inflating these lungs that looked like wings to make them flap.
And the chicken was up there on top of him when you entered. Those dirty little chicken feet.
Horrendous.
Could you imagine the bacteria in there?
Oh, man. Ugh.
As though that's what's going through his head.
Dude, and it should be noted, the whole way through this movie, you're laughing nervously.
Yeah.
Or in earnest.
No, you're wrong. You're weird.
You weren't laughing the whole way through this movie?
It was horrifying. It was like
well, even Ari Aster said, like, he intentionally made funny moments. Like, there's supposed to be but also he said that he finds a lot of moments in Hereditary to be funny. So
I do too.
He's got a twisted.
I laughed a lot of the way through Hereditary.
What did you laugh at?
Because it was nervous laughter almost. It was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like the part where spoilers. If you don't want to hear big spoilers about Hereditary, skip forward a minute or two. When her head pops off. I laughed when
you laughed at that.
Oh man, I laughed at so many parts in that movie. Not like ha 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 ha.
Well,
right.
even the ending of Hereditary where he climbs up into the treehouse and they're all like doing the ritual and he's just like, all right, I guess this shit now.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of funny.
I don't remember it well enough. Then I guess I got to watch it again.
Anyways, so it ramps up real quick. Christian is
How
drugged.
Does he get his clothes back on?
They clothe him. I think they find him. Or whatever.
As soon as he sees the guy with the blood.
When he's in the chicken coop, the other guy comes up and drugs him with cinnamon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He blows this dust in his face, and he's instantly paralyzed.
Yeah.
And then I guess they go back. No, wait. They never eat dinner again because the next time you see him, he's in the bear suit, right?
Well, he was at dinner. He was at dinner after he had the worst sex ever. And then,
right, yeah, that's right. He couldn't talk or move.
No, she is the May Queen sitting at the head of the table, and he's like at dinner. And then he's having like a really bad trip because when she was dancing, they drugged him again. Okay. They gave him the extra tea, the super specialty, and so he was like having the really bad trip, and then he ran into the chicken coop. And so
the kind of the finale is they all gather together. Christian is put into that's not yet. He's not in the bear suit yet. So they put him up and they basically describe, all right, everyone, now is the part where we make the 9 sacrifices, and here's the tally of where we are with those sacrifices. And they're like, all right, so we got the English couple, we got 2, and then we got the 2 Americans,
4,
and so now we got two Swedish volunteers. We got
the two that committed suicide.
The 2 old people who committed suicide.
The 2 old people that committed suicide.
There were 2 cult members that volunteered, and then there was the 2 extra old people that had already committed suicide. So then we need 1 more.
Yeah, I need 1 more, and you have to decide between.
Danny has to decide between
the Swedish volunteer. No. It's the sacrificial bingo.
Yes.
They have these.
No, sacrificial Powerball.
Yeah,
right.
Sacrificial Powerball. They have this lottery with the bingo ball that comes out and has Sven's name on it or whatever.
Good news, Sven.
And he's brought up, and then I guess Christian's name was called in there, or did they just say like?
No, you self-volunteered.
So then it's
choose
up to
your boyfriend or this other guy who you don't know.
It's up to the May Queen to decide who dies, and apparently she chooses Christian.
Which, honestly, in my mind, I thought there might still be hope for him. There might still be hope for Christian. Like there was still a tiny part of me going, "Oh, please, just don't pick him." And he is completely incapacitated at this point. He can't talk or move, and he's just looking at her. And I thought, just don't pick him.
Yeah, this is. I mean, because really, you expect her not to pick Christian. I mean, it's kind of a hard decision because she just watched him committing infidelity, and he's not a nice person. But also,
he doesn't deserve this.
Yeah,
no one deserves to die.
But wouldn't you pick the Swedish person? But it's revealed that no, she picks Christian.
Dude, she's fully bought in. She is in the cult.
Yeah, and she's like in the. It's just a great visual. She's basically like a pyramid of flowers at this point. And then the ritual takes place. Christian is sewed up into a bear skin, like they just skinned and
a grizzly
took
bear.
out disemboweled a grizzly bear, and he's put in there.
And the way that they did that, where you're introduced to this room and there's this old guy who is teaching these little kids how to properly disassemble a bear, and this bear is flayed open on the table face up, and they're like, you gotta cut here so you don't cut the entrails, and this, that, and the next thing.
It's a teaching moment.
Yeah, it's a teaching moment that everybody is like totally cool with, and they're like, all right, get him up. And you see all these people grab Christian and put him next to the bear that's open cavity, and you're like, oh my god,
oh no,
oh wow,
no.
And they're just so nonchalant about it, like, it's Tuesday.
So they set him up in this. We haven't talked about like the sacred temple, but there's this one super bright yellow building that's like an A-frame.
What's that for?
That no one can go into.
Oh, you'll see.
But then they set up all of the sacrificial people, and all the old people, or all the people that have disappeared show up again, like, and they're all pretty much scarecrows at this point. Yep. So Mark is like stuffed. His skin is like a scarecrow stuffed with hay.
And he has a clown hat on.
Jester hat. Yeah.
And they each have their own like weird, really cool like pose and setup. Like there's a guy with like a branch going through his throat.
They've got a theme. Each one of them is themed to be some part of this pagan ritual, right?
And
to
I think
represent something.
Yeah, there's 9 of them, and I think it represents. That's why I was asking the number of emotions, because I'm pretty sure it lines up with the number of emotions. Like each of them represents a certain like emotional state.
This guy represents the branch emotion, you know. And
you ever feel like a branch? You ever feel like a plastic bag floating in the wind? It's like Katy Perry. Yeah, that would be great if there was just one guy covered with a plastic bag. Anyways, so then Christian is like the centerpiece of this, in the middle of the room, dressed in the bear suit, and then the finale is they just burn it all in a huge pyre, and
a bunch of people are burned alive.
A bunch of people are burned alive, and like even like the Swedish people that volunteered, and they're very calmly accepting their fate, and they give them like drugs. They're like, okay,
you won't feel this.
Lick this little bit of honey, and it'll make it so you don't feel a thing. And then the flames start coming on. They're like, it burns. So not super effective.
And to be the second guy there, because the 2 Swedish guys are looking at each other, and one's like, it's not gonna hurt, and he's the one that like unloads, and to be the second guy that hasn't been hit with the fire yet.
Shit.
Oh god damn it, they lied. I chose the wrong cult on cult choosing day.
When you're going with painkillers, don't go organic.
Fucking give me the good shit.
Go full on pharmaceutical.
What they give him? They gave him that
peppermint or something.
No, they gave him that stuff that people used to kill each other with. It's that tree that has a name.
Is it hemlock?
Hemlock, yes.
Oh, yeah.
They gave him some hemlock.
Okay, so no, wait, it wasn't
because
the
way that it is.
Yeah. Was it hemlock, or it was? I don't know. Well, anyways,
it was hemlock.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So basically, this ritual is. They talk about it as the sacrifice for reciprocity or something like that. And it seems like it functions the same way as the Jewish ancient tradition of a scapegoat, where you put all the sins of the people on a goat, you send it off. And in this case, you put all the sins of the people on 9 people, and then you burn them up. Yeah. And so it's a beautiful, like, I can't stress enough how beautiful this movie is, but especially this sequence, it just looks amazing and really cool. And then it goes back to...
That's one of those shots that you can't fuck up.
Right.
Because you can only do this once.
And
you
then
can only burn 9 people alive one time.
Which was part of my problem with the ritual in general, because if they do it every 90 years, I get it. But in the back of my mind, I was going, if they do this every year, that's such a waste of wood and resources. They're taking all this time to build this temple.
This coming from a guy who is an arborist.
And then burn it down.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of effort.
Yeah, you must be a lot of fun at Burning Man.
You guys, what are you doing? You spent all this time.
Couldn't we just make a smaller fire? So, and then the last shot of the whole movie...
I'm warm enough.
I'm a pretty good temperature.
The last shot of the whole movie is a close-up on Danny's face, and there's just this subtle smile.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
It's
so
great.
it's
like,
it's
okay,
very...
she's with it now.
Yeah, it's very... Like, you said it after the movie. The takeaway for you was that it was cathartic.
Yeah, the whole movie was cathartic. It was like it was satisfying in a weird sort of way. Like I don't know, it just very strangely. You go, oh, okay. Now I see why people join cults.
Yeah, it feels like it feels good to do terrible things inside this cult.
Right. It's so idyllic, and you are forgiven.
Right.
For all the horrible things that you do when you do them.
Yeah.
Like while you're doing them, it's okay.
Right.
Because this is how we do things.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about, cult rituals that absolve the society from all sin. Like, that must feel really good.
Yeah.
Must be very comforting.
I get it. Like now, like after watching this movie, I feel like I
really want to join a cult.
I feel like not only do I kind of want to join a cult, but I feel like I understand how it happens to people and the sense that of it being okay. Like, no, because what you hear, on the news is
right.
They joined a cult, and it's like, and then they all drank a bunch of Kool-Aid and died, and it's like, wow, how did things go from 0 to 60 right there? But that description of they joined a cult and then they died is 0 to 60, and the reality of cults is it's a
slow buy-in process.
It's a transition from white to black, and the amount of gray in between there's miles of it.
Can you find that clip where Hank Hill is talking to the cult members and he goes, "Hey, are you guys the cult?" "No, we're a membership of like-minded individuals who all believe..." "Yeah, this is it."
I found them.
We found the cult.
So yeah, final recommendations. Who would like this movie? There's going to be people that don't like this movie.
Oh, Caitlin would hate this movie.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people who would find this very upsetting, unnerving, or and more than that, the real enemy of this movie is people who want a horror movie.
Right. I was going to say that, like, you could definitely make a case about, like, is this really a horror movie? Because it's a lot more subtle than most.
Yes.
So for, like, horror purists that really want to see, like,
this is not
gore and
scares. There are not quote unquote scares. It is a tremendously unsettling thing.
Right.
But it is not scary in a gonna make you jump sense.
Yeah, but in the same tone, you can't say it's a psychological thriller, because it's not thrills, but it's a psychological mindfuck. I don't know what it is.
It's a totally different. This is as hard to categorize. This is why the category of indie film exists.
Yeah.
Quote unquote indie film, which means fucking nothing except this is uncategorizable.
In a lot of interviews, they describe it as a breakup film. Like,
yeah, right.
The genre of a breakup film. You could say it's a drama. You could say it's a black comedy. Like you can label this with lots of things.
Isn't that what Astor said? He said he thought about it as a breakup film or a relationship something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I think I would recommend it if you really loved Hereditary, like this, you can appreciate the quality of this film. Like if you didn't like Hereditary and you thought it was too slow or just didn't deliver whatever you wanted from it, then maybe turn away. But I think this would also appeal to people that aren't horror fans. That don't want to go see scary movies. This is a really intense ride that's got a lot more in it than just
there's tons
scares.
to unpack.
I think one of the things I said it earlier about my brother-in-law and my father-in-law is, it kind of confused me because Scott, he loves movies, he loves to go, he loves to think about that kind of stuff, but he was like, oh, Hereditary was awful and boring. And I thought, well, he likes to think about all of it, but I know Mitch, he wants, this is what it is, this is what I'm going to see, and this is the story I get. Mm-hmm. And so it's like,
he wants a package.
He wants it. Yeah, he wants a package wrapped up. Everything's, and I don't know. It's just interesting to like. Scott was the one that blew me away on he didn't like Hereditary, and I thought I would have sworn that he would have liked it. But this is it's the same thing. It's like, no, you're going there for an experience.
Yes,
and you are going there to try something new, and you may not like it, but you have to at least look at it for all of the things that it does do. Even if you're just going for sound or music or cinematography or color, like it does all of those things so amazingly well that you can look past maybe the story and just visualize, see the visualizations.
Yeah, you said an important thing. Like my takeaway for like who should go see this, who would like this, is you said experience. This is not a quote unquote movie. This is not a typical movie at all. This is much more of an experience the same way a book is an experience, where it takes you someplace, it makes you feel a way. And so if that's something you enjoy, if that sensation of being manipulated to feel a certain way, if that's enjoyable to you, this movie will do that.
I think the weirdest thing about it is, like, you take a normal horror movie, like, I don't know, Friday the 13th or something like that.
Sure.
And it's, a completely unrealistic premise. You can't at all put yourself in that position. But in this, you can, at least at some point in history, look back and go, this very well could have, this most likely
almost certainly happened.
Yeah,
right.
And so it's that thing where you're looking at it and you're going, oh, this is way closer to human,
reality.
Yeah, reality. Way closer to humanity than anything else.
Yeah.
All right, so go see it, definitely. I mean, this is one of the highest scored films that we've reviewed. It's so unique. It needs to be seen.
It's crazy.
We need more movies like this.
Yeah.
Less movies like The Curse of La Llorona, in my opinion.
Oh, man.
So let's move on to taglines.
Here's taglines.
Okay, taglines is a bit where we come up with the alternate taglines for the movie we are reviewing.
I in no time flat, I came up with 4 stunners, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got 3 that I'm pretty proud of. I didn't come up with a lot, but I'm sure I could have come up with a long list of them.
So no pressure, Garrett. No pressure. I know you haven't done this before, but you have a very high bar set in front of you right now.
So let's just go around the room until we're done with it. If there's ones that you don't feel great about, you can leave them out because there's 3 of us.
You can,
we'll be fine.
You can, but it's part
sometimes
of,
it's better.
It's better. Share. It's good if you get that total miss, because people like to
I'm not
cringe.
worried about it.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't you go first, David? We'll go David, Garrett, me.
Okay. Midsommar. It isn't a cult. It's a community with a really aggressive HOA. Like, you just got to keep things really, really exactly
in order,
the way it is.
Okay.
Do that.
Midsommar. when the murder-suicide of your family is the least traumatic event of the year.
Wow. That one is
coming
good.
out strong, Garrett.
Damn.
Okay. Midsommar. It gives you wings.
Oh, that is a good one. Yeah, those lung wings were... Boy, man, the most brutal thing I can possibly imagine.
And then
being kept alive with your lungs outside your body.
I was doing the Wikipedia on it this morning to catch up on what what the movie, and it was highlighted the blood eagle or something like that. And I went, whoa, and I clicked on it, and oh wow, that was a real thing that people did. Ugh.
Yeah, creative.
Right.
Just speaks to the ingenuity of the Vikings.
Just imagine Vikings just looking at a broken body on the shore of England or something. They're like scratching their beards, like,
you know what we could do with that? I wonder.
Look, you can still see his lungs moving through his broken ribs and his bag.
Hey, you guys want to hold my beer?
Hold my stein.
Okay, Midsommar. Weaponized white people.
Can I say that I appreciate so much that they didn't do the cheap joke with Josh going like, looking side eye.
Right.
White people, am I right?
For real, man. The color was not brought up at all, despite him being the only. Well, no, there was they were
English people.
The English people were
Indian, maybe
of Indian descent, I believe.
Yeah.
But it would no color was ever brought up, despite it being a totally very, very, very white thing.
Right.
But boy, this felt like a super white people movie.
Right.
Like shit white people do.
Yeah.
Because
white people Twitter,
big time. Because it's like, oh Jesus Christ, cults and like an old lady pushing your butt while you're having sex
with her granddaughter or
something like that. It's just very white,
very Alabama.
That we own that. We own that.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Midsommar. How efficient can your cult be with 16 hours of daylight?
Midsommar. The scariest Swedish entanglement since IKEA.
Midsommar. This is the worst Airbnb in the entire world. like you have to make your own bed.
You gotta sleep in a room with 45 other people
and a screaming child.
And then it's kind of more of a hostel.
Then they skin you. Yeah, I guess it is more of a hostel situation, huh?
Literally.
Yeah.
Are you going to Midsummer? Are you going to a Midsummer carnival? You don't want to win this, teddy bear.
Wow. You're really good.
Can you write for us?
Yeah, can you just do mine from now on? Mine haven't been landing.
Midsommar. It's all just a bad trip.
True. It was a really bad trip. The whole trip. Midsommar. Can someone shut that baby up? Can someone shut that baby up, please? If I were sleeping in that room, I would be livid. I'd be like, how is no one addressing this?
How has nobody strangled that baby yet?
Right.
Okay, class. I need you to write an essay on what you did this summer.
Well.
All right, I'm tapped out. Do you got any more?
I got no more.
Okay, so that was Taglines. Let's go into the Rotten Tomatoes game. Attack of the Rotten Tomatoes.
Did you guys cut that out?
Rotten
Tomatoes. Bingo.
Okay, there we go.
We did it. The other ones out.
Yeah. If you, we cut the other ones out probably because we just heard that song 3 times in a row.
Okay. So the Attack of the Rotten Tomatoes, I give you. So this is a special version of the game since we actually have 2 players that can compete against each other, and I'll be the game master. So I'm going to give you a movie. And the theme today is bright or pagan movies. Bright or pagan horror movies. And you have to guess the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Critics are always more difficult on the movies than the audience, right?
It depends, really.
It depends.
It's the tomato meter score.
Right.
So it's the way Rotten Tomatoes works is it's not how good the movie it is. It's if
the sentiment
is good versus bad. So if someone like says like, yeah, it's a 6 out of 10 movie, that's a good sentiment, and if it's worse than 50%, it's a bad sentiment, and then they average those out. So if it just basically says 80, if it's an 80% Rotten Tomatoes score, 80% of critics kind of liked it more than average.
Right. It's a meta score of scores.
So it's kind of weird game. So I'll give you the movie. You give me your guess for the Rotten Tomatoes score, and then I'll keep track, and the winner will be the closest to 0. I'm going to keep a running tally of how close you are to the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Like golf.
But you can go over.
Right.
You can go over and under, whoever's closest. Okay, enough explaining. The closest to Midsommar that keeps getting mentioned is The Wicker Man.
Yes.
We're going to go with 1973, the original Wicker Man.
Boy.
So I have to guess what I think the Wicker Man score is.
Why don't you both write down your guess, so we'll keep it honest.
David cheats over here as a dirty screen peeker.
I'm not you're a screen peeker. Okay, I have mine.
Okay, David, go.
So my thought process on this is I haven't seen it, and I'm guessing.
Okay, sounds good.
83.
Okay.
All right, my guess, because I haven't heard about it until today, is a 62.
All right. So the actual Rotten Tomato score is 88.
Damn, son.
David is very close. Only 5 away. So now the next one is The Wicker Man. 2006 Nicolas Cage remake.
The Nicolas Cage make.
Which brought us this glorious clip.
What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Open my eyes! Eyes!
Bees? I'm narrating my own death. Ah!
Okay. Write down your guess for The Wicker Man 2006 remake.
Okay, I got it.
Got it.
Okay. David?
I'm saying 66.
Wow, you're being really generous. I say 21.
Oh, okay.
Garrett has the better guess here. It's 15%.
Oh,
rotten at 15%.
I really fucked myself over pretty hard on that one.
Okay, next one. This movie happened mostly in the daylight. Tremors from 1990.
Classic.
It's one of my very favorites.
Best movies.
Okay, I have mine.
But we're going on critic score.
Yeah. So this is a hard one because it's kind of... Was it really appreciated as
right?
It's
got the Baconator. It's got the Baconator. Okay, so my score is...
Hold on.
Write it.
Hold on. I'm thinking. Okay.
My score is 84.
I'm going with a 77.
Okay, so Tremors is 85.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, wow. David, 1 off. Damn.
Pretty good.
Okay, next is The Village. M. Night Shyamalan from
Shyamalama Ding Dong.
2004. This is one that I was on my mission when it came out, and I was not exposed to any of the marketing, so when I saw it, I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah, I loved this.
Yeah.
This is still one of my very favorites.
Yes.
So I got 87.
I'm going with an 82.
Wow, you guys are both way off. 44%.
Wow, really?
Yeah. People do not like that movie.
I don't know why. I feel like that was his last good one, wasn't it?
Yeah. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I thought it was really well executed. Okay. Next up, another idyllic horror movie, The Stepford Wives. This one from 2004.
Oof.
The remake with Nicole Kidman and the guy that
Somebody
ran
else.
over people with his car, Matthew Broderick.
Yeah. People forget. I got it. You
Me
got
too.
it?
Yep.
I got 43.
I'm taking a big leap here. I'm going 17.
26 is the actual score.
I was much closer.
Oh, wait. What did you say, Garrett?
I said 17, 1-7.
Okay, I wrote down the wrong one. Okay. We have a clear leader, but I'm not going to say who it is. Maybe you can,
Are there more?
We can pull it. Yeah, there's 2 more.
I have to poop so bad.
Oh my God, David.
I'm sorry.
Okay, 2 more. The Stepford Wives from 1975, the original.
I had to be reviewed well for it to be remade, so I'm going to go 77.
I said 56.
Actual score, 69.
The sex number.
That's when you blow each other. Okay. Last one. David is squirming. So I'll prolong it as long as possible.
I'm going to prolapse here in a second.
Is a movie that we've reviewed on Horror Movie Talk, The Ritual from 2017.
I have mine.
I got good. I'm good.
I'm going 81.
I'm going 65.
Actual score, 73%.
Yes. Wow, that's pretty close to both of us.
All right, so let's see who had the best scores. Closest to 0.
I really am sorry about having to go poop. It's not my choice. It's I drank some alcohol last night, and I haven't drank in like a month. So really affecting my bowels.
That'll happen.
My old poo shoot. Man, I don't think I like drinking anymore.
No, I can't. I did 2 weekends in a row now after not.
It's just
for like a year and a half.
It just leaves me in an unpleasant fog. It's so nice while it's happening, but man, the repercussions last so long. What do we got, Bryce?
All right, who do you think won?
I think I pulled it out with that one close one.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Garrett won, but I'm going to hold out hope and say me.
The winner is, drumroll, Garrett.
Wow. I had one where I was one off.
Only 20 points away from the sum.
Damn.
And David
I run this
is
shit.
121 points away from 0.
That one really fucked me over very badly.
Anyways, okay, so let's do It Came from Social Media.
Yes, it came
from social media
to fill the world with terror, to bring you unforgettable suspense. What was it? Where did it come from? Who were the all-powerful creatures it brought
from social media?
And what did they want on Earth?
So, It Came from Social Media is a bit where it's not really a bit. It's just where we talk about people who've reached out to us or brought up things or interesting stuff that's happened to us on social media. And this week, as I mentioned earlier, we did meet the cult during the movie, and they were kind enough to send us the pictures of their cult, and which you're not allowed to take pictures in a cult, so it's impressive that they did that. And we sure do appreciate it. And
we got a picture too with them, right?
Yeah, we got a picture too with them. So thank you to Brittany. She was the leader of the cult leader, as it were, or at least they're the person who
organized the event.
She says they run a weekly cooking club here in Portland, and they have seasonal weird food gatherings. Their Instagrams, if you want to check them out, check out their food creations or their cult. The Instagram that you can go check out is at Awkward Asshole and at Kret2. That's Kret and then the number 2. And they seemed like a bunch of really nice people who know how to have fun. And so thank you very much, Brittany, and the rest of your cult. We really appreciate the promotional material. And then also I'd like to thank Mark, who has been a longtime fan of the show and who I just appreciate him as a person because he's a cool guy and he's part of the Cool Guy Club. Let's see here. What did he say to me on Facebook? Oh, yes. He said, this is in remark to our last episode, Annabelle Comes Home. Bryce, during that episode, said, if there was one Annabelle that I wanted to be an R, it's this one. And he was saying that because there were pretty girls in it, and Bryce is a pervert. And Mark commented on Facebook, he said, hello, idiot. Annabelle Comes Home is R. It's not PG-13, so you're wrong, and you need to redo your whole podcast.
Oh man! So I should have said it. I wish it was X.
Right.
Okay. Point taken.
Boy, man, if Midsommar can't get an X, ain't nobody getting an X.
Nothing can.
What?
Full frontal
how is
male
Annabelle
nudity?
Comes Home an R?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's nothing in there.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was like a stabbing.
Do they say the F word more than like what, twice?
I don't think so.
I don't know, but I believe the original is also R as well. So in the Conjuring universe, at least 2 R movies exist, I believe. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, we have to redo this entire podcast, which is going to take forever.
Oh man!
So.
I'll be down.
So thank you for pointing that out, Mark. Bryce is not. He's I mean, you can see what he is. So
another shout out. We got a new patron.
Oh yeah,
Taylor T. Got in right under the wire. Well, actually, you can get another one right now for the Horror Movie Talk founding member club.
Yeah.
Member.
And I just got some new postcards, not postcards, but thank you cards featuring little baby animals like lambs and ducklings and deer. And so I'll be writing you a nice message. It's Taylor. I'll be writing you a nice message here shortly and sending you some stickers. Because that's what we do for our patrons, aside from getting all that sweet afterpod content.
And it also should be noted that Garrett is also a patron.
He is
one of the earliest,
the most important.
Yeah.
Thank you, Garrett. We appreciate you. And this is what we do for our patron. We let them come on the show, and we don't actually do that very often, really. So Garrett's just my brother.
So thanks to our patrons. Anything else on social media?
I believe that's it. If I forgot anyone, I'm sorry, but we do appreciate our patrons more than the rest of you slogs. So,
thank you to all our listeners for sticking around and listening to us talk for well over an hour about Midsommar.
It was a great movie, man.
But, I mean, we are the foremost experts on scarosity and scary no-nos. Scare no-nos. So, please, if you like us, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. If you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating. You don't even need to write anything. Just leave us a rating. So we want those sweet, sweet stars.
You can say something nice like, these guys have the biggest dicks I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. If you want to support the show, you can do it a couple ways. Click through the buttons in the banner of the website on horrormovietalk.com. There's 2 options. You can click through on Amazon and just spend on Amazon like you would anyways. Or, if you listen to us and mention a movie, or you haven't seen the movie we were reviewing and it's on Amazon, you can rent it or buy it, and we'll get a little taste of that money that you spend.
It's substantial. It's not little.
Yeah, if you want to give us a much more direct route to your wallet, just become a patron on Patreon. The website is patreon.com /horror movie talk, and that button is also in the banner. If you are a horror movie fan, David's playing footsie with Garrett. If you're a horror movie fan, check out Shudder.com. Use HMT at checkout to get a 30-day free trial. Lots of cool streaming horror movies and horror exclusives there. And please reach out to us on social media. We'll probably mention you on the show and talk to you because we're very needy people.
We have a ton of time on their hands.
Yeah. So that's our show for today. Go see Midsommar and keep listening to us.
Bye.
Bye.
We love you. Bye. Say goodbye, Garrett.
Bye.
fuck, not the woods. Nothing good ever happens in the woods.